Good day to you people of the internet. I was getting ready to set up the Windows 98 build and start recording the install of the operating system, things like BIOS settings and whatnot. And I noticed that the fan on the power supply isn't spinning. That's not going to stop the system from working, but as the components of the power supply heat up, it needs air to cool off like anything else. When a power supply does eventually go, if you're lucky, all of the damage gets contained to just the PSU unit. If you're not lucky, it can send a charge into the rest of your components and take out all sorts of things. So we definitely want to get that fan replaced before leaving it on for any long periods of time. So I'm going to pull this power supply out of here, and today we're going to replace the fan. Okay, now that we have the power supply removed from our Windows 98 gaming build, the first thing that we're going to want to do before servicing any type of power supply unit is to take every step possible to drain any power left in the internal components or capacitors. Now, some power supplies naturally have the ability to drain their capacitors, but we're not going to count on that. So we're going to hook up a power supply tester here and simulate turning the unit on in an effort to drain whatever power is left in the components and capacitors. So we're just going to press that button and leave it pressed for a few seconds. Now the capacitors inside can hold a charge for long periods of time after the unit's been powered off, which is why we're doing things like this to make servicing this as safe as possible. Our next step is we're going to cut all these straps here holding all the wires on, because we're going to have to take the shell off. Those are things we can replace later. Next, let's pull the screws out of the outside shell. With all our screws removed, we should start to be able to work the shell apart. Alright, seems to be coming here. Let's be careful not to cut any of the cables. Okay, from the way everything is packed in here, it looks like we're going to have to take the board out and the fan off the front housing as well to be able to get at this unit and replace it. It looks to me like it's going to be an 80mm fan, for which I have a new replacement here, and we will just swap the wiring over to put this in its place. Yeah, that should fit. Next, we'll start working on the screws for the controller board. Now, other than one screw holding the fan in and these screws holding the power plug in, which unfortunately are bolted, everything else should be loose. All right, we can start to get our fan out of here. And luckily, it looks to me like our fan is connected by a plastic plug, which is going to be excellent. What we'll do is just disconnect this wiring from the fan and connect it to the replacement fan. Alright, first up, we're going to remove the wiring from the old fan. Even though I don't need it, I'm going to make a little mention of where the positive and negative are on the fan, just for reference. We can take our warm iron, dab a little fresh solder on there to loosen it up. work our wiring out of the channel. And we should be able to just pull these wires straight out. One and two. Perfect. Next, we got our replacement fan. We'll do the same. We'll make a little note on here of where the terminals are. So this far one here on the right is plus, and the middle one is negative. And the far one here looks like RPM sensor, and we're not going to need that. We'll do the same process, add a little solder. Now it looks like the positive lead here is going to be a little tricky to get to. So let's get the RPM wire and the negative power lead out of here first. Alright, there is the RPM lead. Next we'll go after the negative lead. And then we'll see if we can sneak back in there and remove this positive one. Alright. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be that easy installing the new wire. So what I'll probably have to do is widen out this opening a little bit to give me a little easier access. Well, short of using a Dremel tool, I can't think of a super good way to make an elegant cut here. This will be hidden behind our label, and it will be protected in a housing. So I think what we're going to do is just try to use a good sharp pair of cutters and nibble out the small section of plastic we need to clear away in order to get to the positive lead hidden back there. Alright, let's give it a shot. Alright, not very elegant, but it did clear the way that we needed to get to the new pads. So we'll add a little solder to them. All right. We can add the leads off of the old fan. We'll do the negative or the inside one first. Now the positive. Yeah, that looks like it'll work. Okay, so I think the first thing that I'm going to want to do is get this board installed back onto the housing. It'll help hold everything together, and I think give me a good starting point for reassembling this. All right, next up, let's get the fan put back in. with the transformer removed, we'll be able to plug this fan power cable right into the port right on the board there. I don't know if you can make it out on the camera. There we go. Alright, I think at this point I'll just go ahead and finish putting the unit back together. Pretty much the reverse of the way I took it apart. And then we'll test it out. Okay, now that we've got our power supply reassembled, we're going to have to test it before putting it back in the computer. Once again, we'll go back to the power supply tester. This will make sure that our voltages are still good, as well as turning the power supply on so that we can make sure this fan spins. So let's give it a shot. All right, let's see if this fan spins up for us. All right, we've got good voltages and a working fan. Okay, so it looks like our little repair to the power supply went well. We were able to take the damaged fan that no longer spinned for us and replace it with a brand new 80mm fan. We tested out all of our voltages with our power supply tester here, and they all tested well. So hopefully now I can get this installed and continue on with my Windows 98 build. Anyways, if you guys have liked what you've seen, please hit that like button, consider subscribing, and I hope you have a great day.